following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to Gate City Chronicles. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and today we're going to be joined with Rahel, a musical therapist. Is that right?
Therapeutic musician and performing artist.
Well, welcome to the show. We've had you on before.
Yes.
And I think on the last show we were talking about going to Israel. You went.
I went finally.
You went to Israel. Well, to me, I'm fascinated. I'm very fascinated, especially with everything that's going on in the world. You went to Israel at a time where, is it ever a good time to go to Israel?
It's always a good time to go to Israel.
Right.
Because there's always a mess going on, so you just need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in Israel, the mess disappears. You don't feel the mess. You're not part of the mess. You're part of the life and the thrill and the excitement and the energy and all of the good things that are in Israel. Yep. That you're going to find, because that other stuff isn't there.
Now, where did you go in Israel? Where did you hang out, or did you go throughout all the provinces? Or
I did pretty well. I was only there for 3 weeks this time, sadly. I was ready to just pack it up and stay, which I will be doing by the end of the year, by the way. I'll be going back home finally after 16 years in New Hampshire. But I went to see my daughter, who was living there, and she lives in Tiberias, which is on the Lake Kinneret. And it's a lot has changed. A lot changes in Israel very quickly. But there's a beautiful, what they call a tayelet, a promenade along the lake, and you can go there. A lot of tourists will be there, and it's very beautiful. The rest of Tiberias needs some work, but I stayed for 2 weeks in the north with my daughter. And that was a lot of fun. And then I was lucky to have arranged 4 concerts overnight, almost overnight, it seems like, you know. And
now, how did those go? You were sitting in the streets. You were playing the.
Well, I took my tried my street skills out in Tiberias on the promenade there, and that was a lot of fun. I got a job offer, go and play for the elderly Russians in a home.
Right.
I didn't have time to do it at that particular time, but I will go back and I will do that. And so that was a lot of fun, knowing that when I go back, I'll have something to go back to. And I have connections because I used to live in Israel. I lived in Israel for 22 years, from 1976 to 1998. And I've been back only a few times since I've been in the last 16 years. So it was kind of, although the main goal was to see my daughter, it also turned out to be kind of a pilot trip to see where things are at and what's happening and what are the possibilities when I go back.
Now, you're going back to stay?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, homesick.
Homesick, very.
Interesting. And is there a movement, do you think, that more and more Israel's going back home to the promised land, if you will? Are a lot more people saying, you know what, that's my roots. I want to go back. I want to stay. Is there a lot more?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the statistics, but I know that there's over 7 million now in Jewish population is over 7 million now. So that means that there's been quite a lot of what we call aliyah, immigration, back to Israel. Of course, every time there's strife in the rest of the world, for example, now in Ukraine, in France, wherever the anti-Semitism is popping up and being more active, people are going back to Israel. And also there's people we're finding Jews, African Jews, Ethiopians,
The scattered abroad will be
Ugandan, all
coming back
sorts of-
home.
They're coming back home, yeah.
Interesting. So, is there a lot of anti-Semitism in the Ukraine?
There is now, I think, but I'm not up on the politics there. I mean, the Ukraine was known during World War II to be pretty awful, pretty horrible.
Well,
but,
there wasn't there at one point weren't a lot of Jews exterminated? Just didn't get the press that Hitler gave.
Yeah,
Right. It was the Ukraine. They starved them.
there's a lot of tragedy going on in a lot of places in Europe, and it's popping up again, and so we have to be careful. We have to watch for it. It's here too in America. It's there's people don't like us. I don't, I'm not quite sure why, but I think it's something that's ancient. It's ongoing, and we have to live the best we can. But nowadays, in my generation anyway, we've got Israel. And when you think back on it, before World War II, before 1948, Israel was only back in Second Temple,
Right.
First Temple. So 2,000, 3,000 years later, we're looking at modern Israel. It's quite a miracle and an accomplishment. And it's sad that people, the worldwide, are doing, boycott, divest, all of that stuff. And where Israel, in only a mere 65, 67 years, has managed to contribute so much to the world. So you really have to wonder, what the heck? But I can tell you, when you're in Israel, it's not something that you feel. And Israelis get kind of surprised when they come out of Israel and they see the anti-Semitism around. And it's funny because you think about it, Israel being surrounded by a lot of hostility, and that's anti-Semitism, big time. But I don't know, sort of don't look at it that way.
The last time I saw you was, I believe it was last summer, and I was walking down Main Street, and there was the farm stands.
Yeah.
And you were playing, and it really sounded very nice. It was. When I hear music, my wife will just grab me because I'll just kind of like gravitate, and I want to see who's playing. And I didn't. I was surprised it was you, and it was nice. It was like, hey, Rahel, how are you? And you're playing spiritual songs. You're playing psalms.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
One of the things that has come into my life actually since 1995 has been the Psalms, and 10 particular Psalms. And I think
I noticed you had Psalm 50. You had Psalm.
I have actually, I have a card there. You can read them off.
16. Yeah. 16, 32, 41, 42, 59. Oh, I said 50. It's 150.
150.
You're right. 77, 90, 105, and 137. Now, is there a particular reason you chose these particular songs?
Yeah, there's in short, in a nutshell, there's a rabbi who lived in late 1790, 1790 till 1810, and he's known as Rabbi Nachman. He was from Breslov of the Ukraine at the time, Uman, and people still make a pilgrimage to his graveyard. He has a following from his writings, but he is the one that basically, I will say, revealed that these 10 particular psalms encompass the entire 150 for the purpose of what he calls the general remedy, the Tikkun HaKlali, for healing purposes. Originally, it was particularly geared towards men, so as not to spill seed, but it's now known in the general sense as a healing. So if you take these 10 psalms and you read them, recite them in sequence as a whole, it's understood to give you a particular general complete healing, as it's called. So in 1995, I was going through a particularly hard personal time, and I had a book about this. And I opened up the book, and certain verses from those psalms jumped out at me, and I had my guitar in my hand, and they turned into 27 songs, which it healed me. I felt better, and I put the songs on the shelf. Recorded them, put them on a shelf, never to be heard again until 2004, when suddenly, I don't know, it popped into my head again and said, whatever became of those songs? And I pulled them out, took them off the shelf, listened to them, tweaked some of them, But most of them were pretty complete as they were. And I turned it into a CD, out of which the 27 came, I think 19 got recorded, plus a couple of others. So there's 21 songs on the CD. Done sort of to follow the pattern of saying in sequence. They're not complete psalms, but they're verses from the psalms. And so the CD has 3 discs. The first 2 are, I recorded together with a bass player and somebody who plays the oud, an Arabic instrument, or also known as the lute, but played differently, and the bass player. And so there's instrumental. And when I sent it to my friend over in Israel, she said, I can't meditate with all that extra sound, all those extra sounds on this. So I made an acoustic version, which was just 10. So you can listen to it either acoustically or with a, more instrumental. And I haven't done a whole lot with it, but I have been wanting to for a long time. And it just hasn't found its way, its niche yet, but it's working on it. But those who have it, who have purchased a copy or who have received a copy, whatever, the feedback has been that it's helped them, and they have lent it to other friends who are ill or needy in crisis, whatever, and it's helped them. So my feeling is that I'm really glad to get that feedback, that the music and the Psalms are doing what they were meant to do, to help people.
During the time of the Psalms, there was either, you'd lose a loved one, or there'd be an illness, there was war, there was time of doubt, where are you? What's going on? Fear, in all these. Is this what it addresses?
Well, the nice part about the Psalms, in my opinion, and I'm no expert on this, far from it, but what I view the Psalms as compared to the rest of the Bible, what's in the Bible is that the rest of the Bible is kind of God saying, hey, you guys, you got to do this, and I'm talking to you. But the Psalms are different in that it's an outpouring of the soul of human beings talking to God. It's the other way around. We're petitioning God, we're expressing ourselves. And so people tend to relate to them a little easier than the rest of the Bible in some cases because they're very human. They're expressions of our feelings, our emotions, what's deep inside our souls.
Right.
And so,
Which transcends in some, if you don't mind me saying, but in some ways religion, in that you can get religious, you can do things in a way that it's just repetitive, but when you're pouring out your heart, I think God listens, right?
Definitely. God's always listening. But
right, but the thing is, are you real? Your mouth draws nigh unto me, but your heart is far from me. It's got to come from the heart, and I think sometimes when you're praying, you don't realize you're doing it the right way, but if you're praying with your heart, sometimes. Right. And these are the Psalms are a way for God. Where are you?
It's heart and soul, and it's seeking, and it's asking, and it's feeling. It's all of those things, and it doesn't matter what religion you are. If you're religious or not, these Psalms speak to everyone at many levels. If you're spiritual, if you're not spiritual, whatever it is, because again, they're human outpouring. It's from the heart, as you say. And I think as a musician, I'm often trying to find where is my heart in my music? How can I sing from the heart? And I have trouble with that, but people have told me that when I sing in Hebrew, that's where it's coming from the heart. And they recognize there's a difference. And thank you
right.
for recognizing that, because it is hard as a musician to find that place. But if you don't mind, if I would talk about just for a minute, from the heart, I also transferred, my personal journey coming from the Psalms was that I realized that I'm not an entertainer, so to speak. And I learned that because when I play, people start yawning. And I said, what? Oh, I'm boring everybody. Why everybody's bored with my music, or I'm just not. And what I learned was that wasn't what was going on. The music was reaching them in a certain way, and it was relaxing them, and it was healing them, and it was doing. So I realized that really my path musically was to go into therapeutic arts, therapeutic music. And I got some training, and I've been doing that since 2004, where the Tikkun spoke to me in the beginning and healed me, and now I can take it out and use it to heal others.
I recall it was in the Old Testament in one of, I think either 1 Samuel or 2 Samuel, where Saul was distressed.
Yes.
And so David would play the
Right.
harp to soothe him. And of course, David is, obviously, King David wrote many of the Psalms, right? Not all of them, from what I
Not
understand.
all of them, but many,
But,
yes.
but the whole idea, music can really, really work on somebody's soul for real.
Yeah.
I mean, it can bring you to tears, it can make you laugh, it can
Right.
make you dance, it can make you cry. And I think it was Solomon that said that a merry heart maketh like medicine. And if music can bring you into a state of happiness, it does seem to work mentally. There is something there. Your spirit seems to work inside you to help alleviate that tension. That a lot of, and nowadays it seems like everybody's under stress.
Well, I can tell you part of something that surprised me. I was doing some internship, and I went into a rehab here in New Hampshire, and people who were recovering from maybe drug or depression or various emotional, mental issues. And I went into play, and they started requesting all these sad songs, Bridge Over Troubled Water and Green Sleeves, and I thought, oh.
Why make me cry? I'm already depressed.
I know, shouldn't I be doing? And then I realized later that it's the match and then move kind of thing. That's what they wanted to hear. They wanted to embrace their sorrows. And once they had embraced them and felt them and could express them and heard them through the music and felt them, then I could play happier music. And then they started requesting happier music.
Isn't that similar to having a good cry?
Yeah.
A good cry and get it out. You know?
But sometimes you can't do that. And one of the things that therapeutic music does, being a therapeutic musician, oftentimes I will go into a place where people are blocked, and you can feel that block, and suddenly the emotions come pouring out because the music brings it out, and it's something that they can't do just standing there. But the music, I don't know, somehow provides an opening, a portal, or a pathway that they can't help it. It comes out.
I went to a nursing home, not a nursing home, but almost nursing home. What do you call that? Assisted living.
Yeah.
And to visit a friend, and she said, "Can you sing Danny Boy to me?" Now we're in the cafeteria, so I pull out the smartphone and I look up the words because I really wasn't sure I knew all the words, and I start singing, "Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling." And all the seniors, you could hear the spoon stop, the eating stop. Chairs started to turn around, and they all just listened.
Right.
And I had a lump in my throat because I'm singing it, and I'm reading the words, and it's like, this is really sad.
It's really sad.
It's wicked sad.
It's a really sad song.
She's got the tears.
Right.
You know, and they all started going, you know, and and I thought, wow. So
Right.
I offered at some point maybe to do some big band stuff for them and sing that kind of thing. But somebody said they wanted something from Ripple, from who is it?
Grateful Dead.
Grateful Dead, right?
That's the thing. When you think that healing music is harps or something slow and moving, and it isn't. It's everything. It's what the person wants.
Right.
It's what the person wants. If they want rock and roll, you're going to sing it. If they want the Rolling Stones, you're going to sing it. If they want ethnic music, you're going to sing it.
I'm not going to rap. I can't.
Right. But if they want rap, you're going to try your best, And it's everything. It's all encompassing. So as a therapeutic musician, you really have to be pretty versatile. You have to be pretty adept at your instrument, whatever it may be. Mine is guitar and vocals. I'm not that great at vocals, but, languages, whatever, you really have to know. And you have to know how to use your instrument to reach. And you have to also be confident that your intuition is working, because you're never really sure if you're doing the right thing. You're never
if you're
sure.
reaching people.
And you have to really just say, okay, I'm doing what I think is right, and I hope I'm helping. And sometimes you get the feedback that you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes somebody will say, that's enough. And you have to say, that's fine, thank you.
You're right, exactly.
You know?
Well, I was a performer at some point, and you can generally feel the spirit of the audience.
Yeah.
If you're reaching them and if you're not.
Yeah.
And boy, if you're not, it's work.
I wanted to say that while I was in Israel, because one of the things I want to do when I'm there is to do more with the therapeutic music and the therapeutic arts. And, God works in funny ways, but, just from the plane ride, my seat got changed, and I ended up sitting next to a man who works in Florida with nursing homes, placing seniors. And he had lived in Israel for many years, and he gave me some contacts of people there, and I was like, wow, this is sweet. Everywhere I went, there was something to do with therapeutic music. Everybody said, oh, you're doing that? And I said, yes. And said, I know somebody. Here's a contact.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's not a fully developed thing, but it's one of the things that when I go back, I'll be working with some people to do. And I wanted to, while we still have time, just make sure I let you know about some really fascinating people that I met in Israel and that are friends of mine. One of the things we were talking about, the Tikkun, was that I had this not lifelong, but a long time dream to be able to combine artists with music and to draw and express themselves through visual arts, the Psalms through visual arts. And I got a chance to do that in Israel at the Yanko Dada Museum in Ein Hod. We have a sister city. New Hampshire's sister city is the Hod HaSharon area. Hod HaCarmel, sorry.
So how do you have a sister city? New Hampshire has a sister?
Yeah,
Does every state have a sister city?
No, Jewish federations around the country tend to adopt a city in Israel and try and connect them, support them in whatever way
And Nashua is
possible.
one of them?
And in Manchester, the Jewish Federation has a sister city, Haifa Carmel. And so I used that connection, some of the people I knew there. And one of the things that there is an artist village called Ein Hod. And artists live there, they live and breathe there, they paint there, they work there, they show there, there's museums there, there's lots of, there's a...
It's the place to visit.
This is the place to go, yeah. And I got a chance to give a concert in the museum, and 8 artists came, and they were drawing. Unfortunately, I became the subject of their art, but I had hoped that the music was the Psalms would be the subject, but they drew me. But that's okay, there's a next time.
Sure.
And that was a lot of fun, and you'll see a video. I have a little video clip about that, and you'll hear one of the Psalms. I sort of transposed it onto the video clip that I made that you'll see.
Okay.
Another person is my good friend, Yona. She founded an all-women's band in 1980. And since 1980, 1981, I've been part of that band, whether I'm here or there. And I called up and said, are you going to be performing? She said, no, but we will. And I said, let's make it a fundraiser, because she has 2 very special needs children. We're born with all sorts of syndromes. One is Down syndrome, when they have Stickler syndrome, and all sorts of things. And she herself has rheumatoid arthritis, and she had since age 19, and syndromes, and she's a drummer. And she founded this great band, and it's still going. And I would like if you could show a video about the struggles that they go through. There's a lot of needy children everywhere. And she has 2 of them, and I would love it if
we could tag it on to the show.
Tag it on,
sure.
and let people know that they can help support people directly in Israel. If you don't know where to help in Israel, and Israel needs our help, but
It's
this
tough
is
with
a family.
the neighbors that they have.
Yeah, but this is a if you're giving to an organization, you're not always sure if the money is going there. You can be sure that this money is going to get to where it needs to get to, and it's going to help some special children.
What is the name of the organization again?
Well, it's just, there's a lot of them, but I can give you the address. She's got a GoFundMe address if you want to fund her directly, but there are many other organizations in Israel. There's Aline, there's Yad Sarah, which is an amazing organization that gives medical equipment to needy people. There's Yad Lachim. There's all sorts of places. But I'd like you to see, the people here to see the videotape of Yona and her 2 children. And when I was there, I went to Tzfat. Tzfat, yeah, known as Safed, known in English as Safed. It's the home of many of the Kabbalists. The Kabbalah is the mystical side of the Torah, of the Bible.
Okay.
And many of the Kabbalists are buried there and in Tiberias, where I was. And there is a wonderful woman I met there. Her sister lives here in New Hampshire, and she put me in touch with her. And she is, I didn't know what I was walking into, but she has Down syndrome children who she's adopted and takes care of. And one of the video clips that I hope you'll show is about her 2 children. She had a biological son and adopted daughter who fell in love. Both Down syndrome children, not something that we see very often. And there's a little video clip of them getting married.
Oh, we'd love to see that. Yeah.
And so
maybe we'll tag that onto the show.
Yeah.
Are there any final thoughts that you want to leave with our guests or our viewers?
I would just say yes, that Israel is not what you see in the news. There's 2 Israels. There's the one you see in the news, the political Israel, and then there's real life Israel. And real life Israel is the one you want to see. You want to forget that there's stuff going all around. That's in the news. Go to Israel, see the real Israel. You will be surprised at what you see. The people there, some of the people that you'll see that I've talked about, musicians, music is awesome there because there's people from all over the world. And you're going to hear music, a fusion of world music that it'll blow your mind. And you're going to see things and the land and the culture and the archaeology and everything. Just go. Forget about it. You said, can I go there? Is it dangerous?
Right.
No, it's not dangerous. And yes, you must go there. Just go.
I'd love to do that. Well, thank you again for coming on the show, and we'll show the clips.
בטרם הרים יולדו ותחולל ארץ ותבל בטרם הרים יולדו ותחולל ארץ ותבל ומעולם עד עולם אתה כן 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 Before the mountains were born, before you set forth the earth and the inhabited world, before the mountains were born, before you set forth the earth and the inhabited world, from world to world you are the Almighty. From world to world you are our Lord. ותבל בטרם הרים יולדו ותחולל ארץ ותבל ומעולם עד עולם התקל ומעולם עד עולם התקל ומעולם עד עולם התקל ומעולם עד עולם התקל. From world to world you are the Almighty. From world to world you are our Lord. From world to world you are the Creator. From world to world you are Hashem.
Thank you for watching Gate City Chronicles, and we want to thank our sponsor, Avard, Dean of Clean, the carpet cleaner in Nashua. You can reach him at 603-630-1743. And if you would like some more information about Gate City Chronicles or want to be a guest, contact me at gatecitychronicles@gmail.com. Until next week, thanks for watching.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.